Good evening. This is episode 4 of the Formless Podcast. My name is Dustin. I've got awesome audio engineer, all-around superhuman Tyler with me.
Hello.
And today we are joined by Joe Llewellyn. Thank you. I just drew a total blank on your last name, and I've known you for the last 5 years. I apologize. Joe Llewellyn is a member of our karate school. Him and his whole family practice. And Joe, as we were talking before we started, you're a little more seasoned than some of the rest of the students in class.
Yes, I started my first class 2 months shy of my 51st birthday.
Right on.
And I'm coming up on my 55th birthday.
So
right on.
4 years.
Yeah.
Right on, man. Joe's been with us for 4 years. He's awesome guy, always willing to lend a hand, always willing to help out. And he's also you said sergeant major?
Master sergeant.
Master sergeant. See, I know nothing about ranks.
Sure.
In the United States,
California Army
National Guard. Thank you. I almost said Coast Guard, and I was going to shoot. I have to shoot myself in the foot or something later. And you've been to Afghanistan?
Right. I've been doing this 34 years. I have deployed to Kosovo in 2005, Afghanistan in 2012, multiple floods, fires, LA riots in 92, a few other things, Homeland Security after 9/11.
Wow.
You know,
so you've been around the block a time or two there.
A bit, simply because I just keep re-enlisting and just trying to outlast anyone I ever served with, like say 20 years ago.
Well, I was actually thinking about you guys. I always just kind of struggled with the military. I was chicken. I'll just stand up and say it. I didn't sign up because I had other ideas and things. The way my life, we talked about how we plan things and then things work out in a different way. Mm-hmm. My plan was completely different than what the military was, and I just gone through 18 years of school, and I didn't really want somebody to be yelling at me any more than they had to. So, but my grandmother was in the military. And she was in the military for like 22 months, right around the Korea War time. Her brother was in Korea, chosen. But recently she was diagnosed with Alzheimer's and, dementia, not Alzheimer's, dementia. And she is currently in a home right now where they're trying to evaluate some things and stuff. But my parents, who take care of her, have paid zero. And there is zero to come. You know, there's basically the United States government said, this person worked for us, we're taking care of them. And it was like, what a relief on my parents' end, because they're both retired and they don't have unfortunately they don't have an unlimited bank account. So that kind of stuff. So you two are my source of military people that I know, information and stuff. So I was like, man, you guys probably have the same type of benefits. You go to the
very
veterans,
similar,
because you guys have both been in some serious, not exactly the safest places in the world.
Definitely
I'm assuming.
Not. Fun fact is that Joe and I are related. I joined the National Guard when I was 17, junior in high school. And the National Guard had this special program where you could join at 17 and you're a junior in high school. And then it's called the split option program. And so I joined, and the summer between my junior and senior of high school, I went to boot camp in Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. And then I came back, finished boot camp, came back, and I started drilling 1 weekend a month at the local National Guard unit I was assigned to. And that's how I met Joe. And so Joe and I ended up I was in his squad for a while in high school, and then we ended up deploying to Kosovo together. And I kept telling him how I had this my cousin who was single and a really fun girl, and how I wanted to introduce him and her. And so Joe, you want to talk about that just briefly?
You bet. About.
So you had already been in the Guard for a while before
Right.
Tyler came along. Okay.
So if it was in 2004, I would have been in
17 years.
17 years. 17 years because I joined in 1987.
Okay.
And so I was a staff sergeant, and Tyler and I went to Kosovo together. As a matter of fact, I think I got him on that mission because he was just coming back from advanced individual training, this second part of the split op. And if I didn't get him on that mission, he probably would have gone to Iraq.
Oh.
In 04, which
was bad news.
It was not a good time or place to be.
I'm listening to a podcast right now with some Medal of Honor recipient, Marine, who was in Iraq, and then he went to Afghanistan, and holy crap, he was talking about stories from right around that time period about just how nasty it was. Yeah, lots of people dying and getting hurt and stuff.
So I introduced Joe to my cousin, and then I actually Joe, you want to talk about that?
Sure. We met in March, and then we didn't meet again until May because we were just busy with different things. And then the second time we met, that's when we exchanged digits, phone numbers, and then I was headed out.
So let me interrupt you, Joe.
Sure.
I got to interrupt you. So did you ask her for her phone number, or did she ask you first? Your wife is going to listen to this and know the answer.
I think it was just kind of after hanging out at the Reading Rodeo on a Friday night.
Oh, okay.
Hanging out there at the Reading Rodeo on a Friday night. I knew I'd be going out of town on the weekend, National Guard.
Yeah.
Going up to Mount Shasta.
You better snag this gal before
and then
some other cowboy gets her.
She actually used like her checkbook, like a deposit slip, but she tore her address off of it because she still
didn't trust you.
Didn't quite. It was smart. But she did give me her phone number. Wrote down her phone number. I gave her mine, and I told her. And this was I did have a cell phone, but this is early days. And I said, I will call you when I get back into town because when I'm at National Guard, I'm sort of focused on whatever my job is.
You're not calling girls. You should be
no.
Protecting the country.
Well, I'm just trying to get whatever tasks and jobs and training we have scheduled done. But I did spend a fair amount of that weekend interrogating Tyler on the details and everything like that. So I did call her that Sunday when I got back into town.
Right on.
Set up a date, which was a Wednesday. And then
and how long have you been married now?
Well, I'll get to that.
Oh, sorry.
And then so from that date, 10 days later, I proposed.
Really?
I did because we were talking about marriage and family,
the whole time.
What we wanted to do. Well, we got there fairly quickly.
You practically knew her by the time you dated her the first time because Tyler probably filled you in.
I spilled the beans.
but we had the connection and everything like that. So I proposed to her 10 days without a ring, without anything, but
and she still said yes.
She still said yes, and we've been married 15 years.
Wow.
And 2 kids.
With 2 children.
That's awesome.
And I will simply say I was 39 pushing 40. 40 was coming up, not that, but it wasn't so much that, but I knew I had a connection. I knew I had a connection with her.
Something worked.
Something was working because when I met with her, like I call it like the third date was really just watching her do a horse show, and I had my nephew with me, and then so his attention span pretty much hit the end, and we're gonna go see a movie, and so she was telling me her schedule so we could figure out the next time we could meet up. That was unique for me. Most of the time it's like, hey, when do you want to meet up again? Oh, I'm not sure. I'm going to be kind of busy.
Yeah.
She was letting me know
that she was wanting
she was
to meet up
interested
again.
in me. And she's beautiful, and she's smart, and she's tough, and she's the best thing that ever happened to me.
You just said something, Joe, that reminded me. I always try and come up with a unique description of everybody when we introduce them.
Yeah.
Smart and fast, beautiful and bold, whatever.
Yeah.
And I kind of got caught off guard because originally Tish was supposed to be sitting in your seat. And so I was going to say something like you just said, hopefully not offensive coming from me and not you. But I was going to say something like that. So I apologize to you because Tish is sick and at home tonight. We got you in, which we were going to have you in eventually anyway. But I didn't get to prep and think about this like I normally like to. Like I've had all weekend to think about what I'm going to ask and who I'm going to talk to and what I'm going to talk about. So this time around, we're really kind of flying by the seat of I'm flying by the seat of my pants. So, but anyway, that is a cool story. That is very fascinating.
Even better, I met her March 19th, which is the anniversary of the Iraq invasion. So I met her at a Support the Troops rally.
Okay.
And I heard about it randomly, because normally that Sunday I'd probably be home playing video games or watching television. But, I like to support the troops. I'm kind of one of them. And so I went there.
You definitely won, yeah.
And then I ran into Tyler and his mom, and so I hung out with them, and that's when I met Tish and Tyler and Tish's grandmother. And it became my family, became part of my family. And this Tish and I, 15 years, 2 children, and it was through our kids and through Tyler is what got us started into martial arts. Just before we get too into that, so I work for National Guard 1 week in a month, occasional deployments, and then I work for Shasta County as I'll call it social services.
You don't have to get detailed.
I don't want to get detailed. I work for the county. I've been doing that for 22 years, and then so one of the reasons I've been in the Guard so long is so many good things in my life have come from knowing people in the Guard. My career with the county, my family. So when people ask me why do I keep re-enlisting, why do I stay in? Well, it's fun. I enjoy doing it. But
yeah.
I feel so much of my life I owe to being the people I've met in the Guard. I just want to keep giving back until they finally kick me out. Because I'll be too old.
Okay. Is there an age limit?
60.
Oh, really?
Yep.
So they don't go, okay, Joe, you were too old for physical duty. Now you're going to go do a desk jockey.
I am kind of a desk jockey,
but you still have to pass a physical.
I still have to pass a physical fitness test
until you're 60, and then it's like no matter what.
If I'm a general officer, that means I have stars.
Yeah.
But I'm a master sergeant, so I just have stripes.
Okay. So once you hit 60, you can't. You get to retire.
And the very thought of deploying at age 60
to anything.
Anything.
Yeah. Flood, fire.
And then
Kosovo.
I got younger kids, so eventually I'm going to hang up the uniform, but not anytime soon, I hope.
Yes.
So yeah. Fun fact is that Joe, I started doing Wu Ying Dao,
right.
And then for a couple of years, and I started bugging my cousin Tish and Joe, and I was like, hey, you guys got to get your kids enrolled in karate. Like, they're gonna love it. You guys would love it. Like, come on, get your son TJ enrolled. And I just had to just practically hound them, and they and they finally gave in, and then here they are.
So
the whole family.
Was it like, oh God, get Tyler off our back? Just show up to one class and say we did it? Or
I think it was even to the point where Tyler offered to pay for the first bit of lessons.
I did. That's right.
And TJ was about 5, I think.
Yeah, because he was pretty young.
Right. TJ was 5, maybe 6 when he started. I'd have to do the math. And then he, as typical boys of that age, not exactly super focused, super disciplined. And so we would come down here, and it would usually be me, sitting watching TJ do his lessons, and then meeting Sensei Court and the other people here, and then we just watching them from I think about May through November, and I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed watching the kids do it, and showed up on what we had back then, Black Belt Friday, where Sensei Court had deals on various different gear, equipment.
Yeah.
And he my wife's retail, so he upsold me just whatever gear I bought, sparring gear for my son. I think that's when we went and maybe even bought sparring gear for my son. I think he probably had sparring gear already. Maybe I don't remember.
But that was did he have the family package going where he hooked you up on that?
You get the uniform and so I bought a uniform and sparring gear for myself and the whole 9 yards. And however much the first bit of lessons, I can't remember at this point. So there it is, December of 2017. Because I was still 50. There I'm at no belt. Yeah. And I dug into the Facebook and I dug up the pictures from my first lesson. And I could tell where I could look at my stance. I can look at where my hands are. I could look at some of the people I was training with and how young some of them looked. Yeah.
So TJ got roped into it first, then Joe got roped in, and then I think Tish fell in line, or was it Gracie?
Gracie, my daughter Gracie, my older child, and we had the three of us, and we're just trying to figure out how to get Tish involved, and Sensei Court has a pretty good plan for that, and that's I think fairly quickly the dominoes fell between me and then Gracie and then Tish, all within a year, I think.
Yeah, because it was pretty quick after you started. I remember I was like, oh wow, the whole family, because now it's the whole family.
Right, and that is one of the things I like to talk about this dojo. I like to talk about the training and the style. Yeah,
you're usually one of the first ones if there's a stranger that walks in the door. You hit them up.
I do that at my work when we have new workers. I want people to feel welcome. I do want to always, sometimes I'll introduce myself to the parents, who are sitting there. Yeah. And then definitely want to make myself, introduce myself and talk to newer students and just make them feel welcome, because everyone feels. I felt nervous. I felt really nervous.
Yeah. Absolutely. I told a little girl last week whose brother signed up. Yeah. She had a free lesson coming, and she saw everybody, and it was a full class. There was 25 kids, and she just was like, "I don't want to do this. I don't want to do it." I'm like, "You've already done the hardest part of the thing that you're going to do all night. Is you walk through that front door, and you stepped on these mats." After that, everything's pretty much easy, but I couldn't get her out, but that's awesome.
Right. And then, you get into a habit, habits,
good habits.
It's a good habit. And, from looking at the picture, I am a good 25, 30 pounds lighter.
Oh, easy.
Was then.
Easy, yeah.
And my flexibility has definitely improved.
Oh man, your flexibility. Yeah. We were sparring, what was it, 2 weeks ago, and you threw a kick head height to somebody. I think it was
it was Mark.
Somebody you were sparring, yeah, and I was just like, whoa, Joe's kicks are getting up there.
That's awesome.
And it's just really physically it's great for me, but mentally is a whole nother level. Because, this is something I look forward to. I love my job. I think I have a great job. But at the end of the day, I can turn that job off and I come down here and I can exercise. Exercise is so good. It's so healthy for people. Mm-hmm. And I joke. This is a joke. But, and when Tish and I train together, it's cheaper than marriage therapy.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
If she's mad at me, if she slips a hard punch to my ribs, oops, sorry, honey.
Sorry, yeah.
Now, she won't hear this. But and I joke about it, but It's something, and I have tremendous pride in the members of my family and where they're at. And when people in this school come up, when my wife started training here, I know how strong she is, physically strong.
She's absolutely strong.
Right. She's a cowgirl.
Yeah.
So she's been throwing bales of hay around for a long time.
Well, one of the reasons why I wanted to get her in here is so I can harass her about my black belt test when she was helping out. But that's a story for another time. I'll tell you after.
But I had a number of people, Sensei Myers, Mark, come up to me. She's really strong. I know how strong she is. I know how physically strong she is. So if we're doing work around our property, we need to move something heavy. Two of us can do it. Mm-hmm. We've moved railroad ties.
Yeah. Which are not light. They're not light. I have moved quite a few of those myself.
Right. So, and that's not, I'm not. I want my children and my wife and myself to have these skills, self-defense skills, to be there when we need them.
Yeah.
And my wife, someone stupid enough to try and mug her walking when she's coming out of her store at night, they're going to be lucky to escape with minimal injuries.
They better run really fast because that girl's strong.
And all their teeth.
Mm-hmm.
And that's great. And that helps, little peace of mind on my part. My son's focus is a lot better. My daughter, I think it helps with their self-confidence.
Yeah.
And my ultimate goal for my daughter is when I'm not around, when she moves away, goes to college, if she has to kick someone in the head, she'll kick him in the head. And they will leave her alone.
Yeah.
And they will regret messing with her.
So not to change the subject or turn the corner here, but I had some other questions for you.
Sure thing.
Did you? Sure. I've loved martial arts movies my whole life. Whether it was Rocky or Bruce Lee movies or Jean-Claude Van Damme, you name it. If it had a guy in a looking like he was going to punch somebody or kick somebody on the cover of that VHS movie, I wanted to watch it. Mm-hmm. And I always wanted to do this as a kid. I got to do it for a little bit and we had to quit, and that's a whole nother story. But did you have any kind of drive for that as a kid? Did you want to train martial arts or boxing or something? Or was it just something like, never really thought of this?
For me, it would be like the Karate Kid movies,
mm-hmm.
or Under Siege a little bit later.
Yeah.
Right. Steven Seagal.
Yeah.
But we never had the money for that. I didn't do sports after school. I got off after work at school, and I went to work to help feed the family.
Yeah.
And it was so there's no extracurricular for me.
It was
and then
get to work and pay some
get
bills.
To work, and then after high school it was go to work. And I look at it, because there's definitely, maybe if I spent less money on movies and CDs and I've spent a lot of money over the years to entertain myself, and video games and building computers. I probably could have started 20 years ago. I don't know where my headspace, my brain would have been at that time.
Yeah.
It was always like something that's really cool, and I always thought it was more like something you did as a kid, Karate Kid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I didn't really put two and two together, and this is long before mixed martial arts, but it's just not something. I just didn't think about it.
Yeah.
And then having to get my not literally arm twisted by Tyler to get my son involved. It just kind of opened up, like, duh.
That's a good
duh.
point.
And I do this, and I have no martial. Before I start here, the Army combatives, which I do every once in a while as I'm getting ready to deploy somewhere. So 3 times.
1 or 2 days of training at best.
Yeah, and it's a totally different mindset, because in the Army you're fighting with your body armor, your helmet, so So a headbutt with a helmet on is
it's
different.
a lot different than with your forehead. Yeah.
With your forehead. And you're also training to work as a group. So if I'm grabbing someone and I'm holding them down, I usually have 2 or 3 buddies coming in to, we don't fight fair. There's no such thing.
Yeah.
To either peel this guy off of me or to, basically subdue someone. So this is an entirely different mindset than the Army combatives. Even though they do, as it's evolved over the years, to pull in some of these mixed martial arts move, but it's different. It's night and day. I wish I could have started sooner. But part of it is I'm in better space in my head.
Exactly. And when things get hard as an adult, you're not like liable to just throw a tantrum and quit. You're more liable to what did I do wrong and how can I fix this and how can I adjust this?
And doing this with my family is much more fun than trying to do it by myself.
As a single man,
as a single person, because now it's a group effort, and now I'm a couple belts ahead of my wife, and one more belt ahead of my kids, but they're coming up. But presuming I don't injure myself or everything goes smoothly, I'll be the first one to earn a black belt. But then my next goal is to be I've said this. My absolute goal one of my goals in this dojo is to be the first husband and wife black belts in this dojo.
Oh, cool.
That's super awesome.
That's different. That's a unique thing. I never thought about that. I was just like, not that I don't love my wife, but I was singly focused on this black belt, and like everything else was like, I'll deal with that later. That's selfless of you. That's cool. I like that.
But Tish and I are a team, and everything we do together.
Honey, we are a team too. I know you're going to listen to this. We are definitely a team.
Right.
Go ahead, Joe. I apologize.
But Tish is certainly the highest ranking female in this dojo who's old enough to buy alcohol.
Yeah.
And she's the second highest actively training.
In the school, yeah.
In the school.
Yeah. At least in this school. Not
this
in Wisconsin.
And so you're 50.
I'm just a few months shy. I'll be 55 in February.
You're 55 and Tish is.
You'll let her say that.
Yeah.
Tish is old enough to be married to Joe.
Tish is younger than me.
And old enough to be married to Joe. So that's interesting because as a kid, I was a spaz, completely just, running all over the place. I did all sorts of stuff. I did do a little martial arts with Sensei Blue. We talked about this on a previous episode. But then there was this long gap, and I didn't get into it much like you until my kids got into it. But I've always found it interesting because although I've had a passion about martial arts, I didn't, I was intimidated or scared or had all these other excuses. Like I work for a living, I don't have time to do this, that kind of thing. And so for one reason or another, I never got into it until I was in my 30s. And then, you come along, you're in your 50s, you get into it. And it's like, that's one of the cool things about martial arts. You don't have to be a kid. You can be any age. You can be any physical shape. Obviously, it's better if you're younger and you don't throw your back out every time you throw a kick. Or if you're not 50 pounds overweight. But you can still get there. You can still do those things. And that's one of the neat things about that. And I feel like a good school doesn't lie to you. They'll be like, yeah, Tyler, you might be able to do this. You might not be able to do it. Depends on how much work you want to put into it.
Right.
That kind of thing. And it's cool. That stretching machine that we have, that it doesn't lie to you. 90 degrees is 90 degrees. And if you can't get past it, that's not the machine's fault, you know. Same thing with weights. If you lift weights, 100 pounds is 100 pounds. And it doesn't matter if you're nice to it or if you cuss it, it's still 100 pounds. And it's still going to be that when you lift it, you know.
Math is math.
Exactly. But it's just really cool. And to see you can do it. You know, if you want to, you can do it. And to hear that you had kind of the same excuses I did.
Right. I just never visualized myself doing it.
Yeah.
I really didn't during my bachelor years. That would have been prime time for me to do that.
And it probably would have been beneficial.
It would have been beneficial for my health, and probably for my mental health, mental toughness. I'm relatively resilient. Resiliency is a big deal for the military. You know, how you
I would assume so. Yeah.
How you handle adversity, and without getting into details, my childhood was not the greatest. It truly wasn't, but I got past it, and I'm in a good place today. And I've been in a good place for quite a while. Part of it is forgiveness, forgiving other people, as I would hope they would forgive me forgive me for the things I've done. But yeah, my 20s were definitely a time, probably would have done me a lot of good.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure how. If I would have appreciated and stuck with it, if
would it have been the right thing at the right time?
The self-discipline.
It's funny how there's those certain things that happen in our lives, like karate, like I talked about before, when I started this art when I was 6 or 7, and I did a couple of lessons and got my white belt, and then ended up quitting like 2 months after I started. I just pitched a fit. I didn't want to do it. And I'm kind of the same way. Like, I kind of wish that 6 or 7 year old Tyler would have been like, hey, I'm going to stick with it, because junior high and high school would have been a lot easier and more fun, doing
and
martial arts.
Maybe you would have had some more discipline.
And some more discipline and some more self-confidence. And here I am, 36, then I just got my black belt. But I still think, would have I taken it as seriously then as I do now? I think there's just a certain time in your life where certain things click and they happen. And it sounds like that's...
Right. I mean, it's... I got married at 39, had my first child at 41, but 39-year-old Joe, 41-year-old Joe, 43-year-old Joe...
That's all.
Is way better place, career-wise, mental health-wise.
Yeah,
and it worked out. It worked out really well for me. I have zero regrets. I'm at a place in my life where I don't look back and say, if I'd done this, things would be different. But if I'd done things differently, maybe I never would have met Tish.
Yeah.
And the good things are, I wouldn't get my job with the county. Every little thing. I was an Army brat, so I grew up.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
I grew up as my stepfather was active duty career Army.
Oh.
And so I grew up on Army bases basically as far back as I can remember.
Wow.
And because he married my mom when I was very young. And so, but I never had an intention to join the military, because I did my time already as a kid. On the Army
you're like, I know what this is about. I don't want to have anything to do with it.
But
not to interrupt you, a question. I'm always fascinated by military stuff. So did you move like around the country as a kid, or around the world, or?
Yeah, Dad got stationed in Germany in 1970 when I was 3.
Oh, wow.
So my earliest memories
are in Germany.
And people ask, well, do you learn German? Dude, I was learning English.
You were on the military base. You were probably on the military base all the time.
Exactly. I was living in America.
Yeah.
A little piece of America.
In Germany.
I mean, we'd go out and we'd go fishing and go visit out into the country. But I went to an American preschool and kindergarten. in Germany.
Okay.
And then moved back to the States, and Dad got stationed in Monterey at the Presidio Monterey. So we moved out to California, and we're from the South. Georgia, Alabama, North Carolina.
So you were born in the...
I was born in Georgia.
Oh, okay.
I was born outside of Fort Benning, Georgia.
Okay.
Columbus, Georgia.
Wow.
And so, I mean, but by the time I started learning to speak, we were living in California. That's why I don't have an accent, but my parents do. My mother did. My dad, my stepdad, have that Southern accent.
And you have a California accent?
I have because I grew up I lived in California since I was 5.
Okay.
5, 6.
My question for you is, so being 33 years, right?
34.
34 years in the Army,
Yeah.
and now doing karate, do you see how, they've kind of meshed together, or there's similarities between the discipline of the military and the discipline of karate, and maybe how they married or something?
Yeah, that's actually cool. I didn't think of that.
Well, that was, that's an interesting part, because when I started, before I earned a white belt, before I had any belt, here I am. When I started, I was a first sergeant, which was the senior sergeant in a company. It's a lot of authority.
How many people are in a company?
Anywhere between
Not 5.
60, sometimes up to 150.
Okay, so you worked your way up through the trenches there. Okay,
I did, and I'm not the commander. The commander is the commander.
Yeah.
But I'm a senior enlisted advisor, and I deal with training and discipline and personnel management. So when I started here, I was first sergeant. So 1 week in a month, I had a fair amount of authority. It's not my authority; it's the Army's authority.
But you earned that.
Right. I was the one exercising it. I'd come here and sit on the mat, stand on the mat, down at the very end.
Yeah.
Very end, and I'm being instructed by young people, young women, young men, teenagers, who are 30 years younger than me. And so it took a little bit of humbling, and luckily, because all that time in the Army, there's a hierarchy, and I knew where I was in that hierarchy here in this dojo.
Yeah.
And I was there to listen and to learn and to see how well.
So you didn't have because I could see where that would be a problem, having like a pride issue with like some kid telling you. So we should probably explain. We should probably explain, because I don't think our martial arts school is not like everyone else's.
No.
We help out here, and part of like when you get your white belt, you kind of, well, maybe not your white belt. When you get down the road, when you've got 2 or 3 belts under you, part of your job is to help teach newer students, and that's a process that that is kind of instilled in the whole thing from the get-go. And I think that it helps 2 people. It helps the new student get accustomed to things, but it helps the higher ranking student really cement and know what they're supposed to be doing. Because if they don't get it right, then there's the process. They're supposed to go ask another higher ranking member and make sure that we have everything. All of our lines, our I's dotted and T's crossed and things like that. So what Joe's saying is basically having some 15-year-old, 16-year-old kid that's been training for 6 months instead of the 2 days that Joe had been, and helping out. Is that correct? Do I have that right?
Right.
Okay.
But humility and humbleness is a good leadership
Absolutely.
trait. It absolutely is. Servant leadership
Yeah.
is where, when not always, but when I was in charge of troops, they worked for me, but I worked for them.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But here, here it was a hierarchy. So I was a private again. I was a private.
Brand spanking new, wet behind the ears.
And
yeah.
Then it's not the commanding officer who's training the privates. It's the junior soldiers, and it's the junior sergeants. So I had, and I wasn't sure what all these belts meant,
Mm-hmm.
but they had belts I didn't. And
So something's different. Yeah.
something's different, and they were telling me what to do, and it was fine. It was
Yeah.
fine. And very quickly, once I started earning some belts, and even as an advanced white belt, I was out there helping the kids because I was there anyway. And Sensei Court said, "Can you come out?" Or I was
hold an air shield up, or
help those kids. And some of these kids had higher belts than me, but I was a grown up.
Yeah.
And helping out and just simply as a sergeant, as a non-commissioned officer, it's really hard for me to watch people work and not get involved and not help out myself. And I knew it would help me. It would help me with my growth and my advancement. It would help out the school, and I'm here to help out the school.
Yeah. So you're a total you're you're fanatical about it.
Right. I like the term evangelical.
Okay, that's good. I like that one.
Simply because I talk about martial arts at my civilian job. I talk about martial arts at the military. There's a captain in my section who trains down in the Bay Area. Our niece and a bunch of different styles. Our Captain De Leon. And so we had those conversations.
Very cool.
Right. And I remember, because I signed up and I went to drill, and I was talking to, the people there, my sergeant major, my commander, the battalion commander, what's going on? I said, well, I signed up for martial arts. And they're like, well, what is it? Oh, it's Wu Ying Dao. And luckily, I've been watching my kid, my son long enough, I could answer, well, what is a Wu Ying Dao?
Yeah, what's that mean? Yeah.
It's a no form way, and it's a karate kung fu hybrid focused on self-defense. So I knew that going into my first lesson, and that helped out. Now I could, I like evangelical. I can go on for hours about this as I'm still learning.
Yeah.
But what I really like to talk to people is what a family atmosphere we have in this dojo, where we have, look at the class today. Mark and his two daughters were there.
Yeah.
And
Evie and Devin.
Yeah, brother and sister. Tyler was working with my two children.
Yeah.
Getting them ready for their next test, and they're the, besides the Davis, they're the the under 18s. They're the highest ranking under 18s that we have in the school. There's only, there's no Hunter.
Yeah.
So your son.
Yeah.
And then of course Sensei Swope.
Yeah. 15.
15-year-old.
Yeah.
15-year-old.
But who's been doing it since he was, I believe, 4, possibly younger.
It's been a while for him.
Yeah. One of my goals is to get him in here too. I have a lot of goals, but I'd like to pick his brain for a little bit.
Right.
But that is really cool. That is really cool. It's not often that people start new hobbies in their 40s or their 50s.
Absolutely.
They're kind of set in their ways.
Something this physical.
Yeah, it is physical.
What's really interesting hearing about your story is like when you're saying with your kids, they're at green belt, and when you hit green belt, we have these 4 gates that we learn as part of our training. And what you have done is you have really humbled yourself, by achieving such a high level in the military and then having to start all over again. And that's true humility.
Yeah. But just to learn anything new, I personally think you have to be humble if you're going to start a new thing, whether it's martial arts or joining the military or whatever. I think it benefits you to have a little bit of humbleness.
I've done a fair amount of training in both my careers, and the cocky, I know everything, I'm smarter than you. Maybe you are smarter than me, but at least what I'm training you on, I know more about it than you do, and
it's
you should probably listen to me till you know it, and then you can work out
Show me later
how you want to do it.
Yeah.
But again, this is no foreign way.
Yeah.
Here, so but it definitely, it's been hugely beneficial for my whole family. You know, I can be me. It's definitely been very beneficial for me. I am 3 tests away from my black belt. I'm an advanced red belt. Dealing with a little bit of back issues because I'm not 10, 20 anymore.
Yeah.
Long way away. But my goal is early next year to get my brown belt, and then work on the next belt, the advanced brown, and then the black belt. I do have maybe I can be testing for my black belt when I'm 70, but I prefer not to. I'd rather get it done a little bit sooner.
Yeah.
You know, when I'm still in my 50s, and then once but I'm not stopping there because I have to get my wife there, and then once she's there, and in the meantime, still getting my kids up there. Kids are a little younger, but my son TJ has the goal to earn his black belt within the next few years.
Wow.
We'll see. We'll absolutely see. Because physically, can he do it? But does he have the discipline and the, between the ears? Because half the battle is...
Especially with kids.
Especially with kids, as you know.
Absolutely.
As you know. And if we have to hit the brakes a little bit till he gets a little bit older and a little bit more mature, absolutely. And that's fine with me.
Yeah. Very cool.
And then same thing with my daughter, but they have they're 18 months apart. So they are very competitive against each other, sometimes in a good way, but most of the time in a way
Bad way.
That
Sibling rivalry?
yeah. But that also means that you can use that to help motivate them both. I'd rather have positive motivation. Positive motivation is better
than negative reinforcement.
Negative,
yeah.
but I don't see them unless something radically changes. They will move up together, and they're both equally skilled. I think actually my son is probably a better thinking fighter. I think when he spars, he thinks. I can see him thinking a little bit more than Gracie, but Gracie has better physical skills. Her kicks hurt.
Her kicks are.
Yeah, they hurt.
They're up. Yeah.
They could hurt if you're not careful.
One of the things that's made an impression on me, and I said it before, but I'll say it again, is when Sensei Blue said the only thing keeping you from your black belt is the door. The door, and it's just constantly. Like last week, I did not want to come to class. I just didn't have a great week. I didn't have a great day, but I was like, nope, Tyler. Sensei Poke Up. You are going to walk through that door. If that's the only thing you do that night is you're going to walk through that door. And I had a terrible night, but I walked through the door. I walked, and that is and I'm interested to hear like what is a defining moment of yours like that, or a defining saying, because that has really impacted me on getting through that door, and that's the only thing really keeping like the saying is what life is 90% of life is just showing up.
For sure. Yeah, I've heard that before.
That saying? And so it's kind of a similar thing with walking through the door.
Well, sometimes people ask me, well, Sergeant Llewellyn, how'd you get to where you're at? Well, I showed up, and I continued to show up. Mm-hmm. And I was
eventually
there.
I get it right.
I was there, and I proved myself capable of doing the job. But in the Army, in the enlisted ranks, you're promoted by your potential. You determined that this person and Tyler was a sergeant before he got out, so he was promoted to sergeant. So leadership there saw that he had potential, and they're willing to give that person a chance with that rank, and then see what they do with it. And that's the case.
So they promote you, and I'm totally ignorant to the military. I'm completely ignorant. You're talking sergeant and all the lieutenant and major and all. I know nothing about that. So you're promoted. You don't take a test. They don't go like, "Hey, Joe, we think you're ready." Or
there are requirements. You have to have a certain amount of time in service, and time in your current grade.
So so they can't like make a big jump.
Right, you're not going to get someone 6 months in staff sergeant.
It doesn't work that way.
It does not work that way. It doesn't work very well. It does not work
because there's requirements to that. You get a rank, and then you have to do a certain
thing. And there's certain schoolings, and it depends. The Army goes back and forth, depends on the needs of the service. Sometimes to get promoted, you need a particular school.
And if you don't have that, no matter what, you're not
You're not going to get promoted. And then sometimes, we're in the middle of a war. Maybe we need more sergeants. Maybe we need more people. And so they'll promote people without the school. But then they have a certain amount of time.
They got to get that schooling. And then you're like, then it's official kind of thing?
Well, they're official, but there's also
the chance that they could fall back.
And the Army the Guard has been dealing with that for the last few years, where these people are promoted and have never gone to the schools, and so they're basically told, okay, you have X amount of time to get thyself to these schools and pass them, or else you're going to either lose rank or they'll just boot you.
Oh. Wow.
And they'll discharge you.
So I had a friend in wilder days that joined the military. And I hadn't seen him for a few years. And he came back. He was on leave. And we got to hanging out. But he was kind of telling me the runaround. And he was like an E3 or E4, which I don't know what that is. Okay. And then he got demoted because he got in trouble. And that's another story we'll talk about later. But he gets demoted, and I thought, like, that's the end of the world. I thought, did you have to pack your bags? You're coming home? He's like, no, everybody gets demoted at least once or twice, and then you usually earn back where you were fairly quickly. Right. And that was so foreign to me. I was thinking, like, you got fired, or, it doesn't work that way.
No, the Army giveth and the Army taketh away. But
much like our Lord, huh?
Here is a joke. I heard this. I've never been to Korea, but you get stationed there. How's the easiest way to make E5 sergeant in Korea? Arrive as an E6 staff sergeant.
Oh, really?
So, when you're bored, sometimes you get in trouble because there's nothing else to do. But and I have a dear friend of mine whose name will not mention to protect the guilty, but he went up and down that rank ladder a couple of times.
Oh, really? Okay. So
and earned it every time, but eventually he retired as a staff sergeant. So
yeah. Well, the thing is that, talking about the military, I was in for 10 years in the Guard. And
you were in, I didn't realize you were in for 10 years.
I was in for 10 years.
You started as a high school student.
Yeah, I started when I was 17, and I got out when I was 27. And I was halfway to retirement, but long story short, the Guard was trying to deploy me a third time overseas. And I said, I'm done. I'm going to college. I'm getting my Army college money, and I'm doing me now. I've done 10 years. And I was like, but spending 10 years in the National Guard really, I want to say the Army, because it was the Army National Guard. They really instilled in me that don't quit, don't quit, don't quit, and if you're running on a PT test and you've got to run 2 miles in a certain amount of time and you're huffing and puffing and you're having a hard time, you're allowed to have somebody come run next to you, as long as they're not physically touching you or pulling you or whatever, but they can be like, come on buddy, come on, don't quit. And a lot of times,
that's why you're always like, let's do 2 more.
Yeah, and so you can have someone running next to you, or while you're getting your certain amount of push-ups, your certain amount of sit-ups, you can have somebody that's there encouraging you on. and saying, hey, come on, don't give up, come on, let's go. And so you're allowed to do that. And so that don't quit attitude was really instilled in me in the military of like, no, you can't just give up. Like you can't.
You got to keep trying.
Quit. You got to keep trying. You got to go. And even if you fail a PT test, well, you got to retake it. And
it's not the end. The end is not the end.
That's not the end. And so you got to then you got to work hard to be able to retake the PT test in order to get promoted. Like we're talking about promoted. That's part of getting promoted, is a PT test.
And you're trying to increase the effectiveness, the overall success of the whole. I mean, there are individuals who think in an individualistic way, and we're Americans, so that's a good thing. However,
the Army's different.
The Army's a bit different because you want to, if everyone's awesome and doing the very best that they can, it makes everyone's job easier. And to be as serious as possible, it's a matter of life and death.
Well, it is a matter of life and death.
In the Army, yeah, for sure. I can, no doubt, yeah.
Right.
I try and instill that in the kids' class, actually. I'm like, look, if I got to take time out to lecture you about goofing around in class and not listening to the instructions, then that's time that we got to spend catching up and working on the drills. And then we don't have time to play. Because I like to play as much as the next person. And I want to play with you guys. This is the whole reason why I'm doing this and teaching this class. I want to play. So let's get through the drills. Let's do the stuff. And then we can play, And so that makes sense to me.
Yeah. Yeah. And it, it's just, I don't think I would have got black belt, achieved black belt if I wouldn't have had that don't quit mentality that I got in the military. That I just think that was the thing that has really drove me. Like I wouldn't be a black belt without the Army. Like and they instilled that don't quit. And and so that's been a big thing for me and for you.
Absolutely. Graduating basic training, earning my military occupational specialty was huge. It was a huge turning point in my life as far as growing up. I did it when I was 20.
Yeah.
A little bit older than Tyler when he started. But I joined when I was 20. And it made a difference. And it even in my civilian life, especially as I moved up in the ranks and got more time under my belt as a soldier, it really, the leadership is universal. The same leadership philosophy that I put into place in the Army, I've done in my civilian job. Now, some things are a little bit different. When you're motivating civilians, it's a little bit different than motivating soldiers.
Yeah.
But lead by example. Treat everyone the same as far as, don't play favorites. Everyone gets
the same playing field.
The same playing field. They've done. My work is big on Clifton strengths-based training because you find out what people are good at and we try and steer those people into those jobs so they're more successful. My number one is consistency. I treat everyone the same. Not every employee is the same. They're all different human beings, but whether you're a marginal employee that I'm trying to build up or one of my superstars, I will treat you the same.
The
with
expectation
the same level,
is the same.
Same level of respect, the same amount of friendliness, with being professional, because and that worked with one of my marginal employees. I managed to get more work out of her and better work and more teamwork by this incredibly complicated idea of treating her like a human being.
That is incredibly tough when you don't see eye to eye with people.
Right, and if she irritated me or disappointed me, it didn't matter. I was not going to change how I treated her, and her performance, her teamwork improved. Was it ever perfect? No, but I'm not perfect.
Who is?
No one's.
But the fact that you treated this person like a decent human being probably
Right.
helped miles above
Yes.
busting her chops over
Yeah.
stupid stuff.
And so here, I never felt as a new student that anyone looked down on me or anyone was going to harass me, anyone was going to haze me, nothing like that. Those things do not happen in this dojo.
Well, the big secret is that like everybody's screwed up.
Yeah.
And everybody is like made fools of themselves
Right.
at one time or another. So if it's not going to be you today, it's going to be you eventually.
Oh,
you
for
know, and I think that's where the seasoned student kind of has one up on the new student. You know,
Right.
they've already messed that all up, and it's like no big deal. Don't worry about it, man.
Yeah, I'm not here to bust anyone's chops. I'm not here to belittle anyone. I'm here to build them up.
Yeah.
For a couple of different reasons. They're paying good money to be here, and they're going to get good training.
Yeah.
I want them to stay. I want this dojo to be successful. COVID. I was scared this dojo would shut down.
And I'm sure it was dang close.
It was dang close, and so we kept paying our dues, and did my part with my checkbook.
Yeah.
to help keep this dojo open, and now, and I'm very glad.
Coming around the other side of it.
Come around on the other side, because I really enjoy this. I have so much fun.
If this got taken away tomorrow, I'd have a heck of a time.
Right.
I totally agree with you. It's saved my mental health in more ways than I can count.
Yeah.
So
This. Sometimes life's a bit of a roller coaster, but I have this to look forward to. Dealt with a back injury this year, and so I went for a time without even being able to train, and then coming back slowly, and I'm still trying to
get there.
And it was very frustrating for me, and
I can understand that.
And just being here and doing the stretching, and it's doing wonders for my health. I look at some of my friends who are my age, who don't. They're civilians. They've never been in the military. They may have actually. A buddy of mine has a couple of black belts, but he got these in the late '90s. And
doesn't train anymore.
Doesn't train anymore.
Really?
Right. And my
dude, you have 2 black belts and you don't train anymore.
Right.
Wow.
That's
Don't
crazy.
name it.
Yeah,
Don't name it. It's just
I've been trying to get them down here,
but
just
okay.
And just, but I'm in better shape. Maybe it's the Army. The Army makes me stay in good shape. I mean, if I never joined the Army, I would be in an entirely different place.
Entirely different person. Yeah.
Different person. But even then, I got up to a certain weight in the Army. 1 week in a month. And I'm 40 pounds down from that weight.
Wow. Good for you. Good for you, man.
And people see it, and people see, Joe, you look great. You're looking. What's your secret? This is one of my secrets.
Have to get off my butt.
Watch what I eat. You get to be a certain age. Diet's important. Diet and exercise.
I would argue that is important. Don't get me wrong, but I would argue just having a body in motion is real important.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta do stuff. You gotta be in motion.
Right. I can eat super duper healthy and still plant my
keister in the chair.
In the chair and watch television, eating healthy food. It's not going to help me. You gotta move.
It's not going to take weight off, and it's not going to build muscles.
Right.
Not that I have any, but
have some.
Yeah.
And your job is a lot of office work.
Tons.
So this is the antidote.
Yeah, absolutely. And the mental health aspect is far and away better than anything else that I have ever done, including psychology, drugs, alcohol. Some of those things are great, but this has been the thing for me, and that's why I continue to do it. And my wife was like a while back, like, "Are you ever gonna stop?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure. When you put me in a box and bury me, because this here has been the clarity that I've been kind of looking for in my whole life."
Yeah, I mean, and you hit a goal. You hit a goal that, you look, just looking at the number of students that I've trained with in the 4 years that I've been here.
Hundreds.
Yeah. And you hit, obviously, you hit one peak and there's another peak there to go.
Yeah.
But
there's something else always.
Both of you hit a milestone that I want.
That's
very
awesome.
much. And there's the stay on your goal board up on the wall, and that was one of the absolute highlights of my training here. I think advanced blue belt. That's a tough one. That's a tough test, and that seems to be not just for me. It's a make or break.
That's one of those make or breaks for sure. I'd say.
And once you get past that when you get that advanced blue, that's when it starts getting fun. It's fun up to that point. That's
when you get the real fun.
The real fun the really cool moves.
The really cool stuff. And sometimes at work, I can show people a certain hold. Just if people ask, well, what do you do? And okay, you can do this. I'm manipulating my hand for this non-visual podcast, and this will help you out in a particular situation. And I haven't had to do it lately. I'm very happy, but it seemed like things were getting a little squirrely out there, and it seemed like once a week I'd be out in the lobby helping to defuse a particular situation. I've never had to touch someone. I don't want to touch anybody.
At work.
At work.
Wow.
At my job, and we haven't had that problem in a while. But because of my, I'm not a security guard. I have an entirely different job. But if there's an issue out in the hallway or in the lobby, and it needs to be dealt with immediately, they know they can ask me to go out there and deal.
Very cool. Very cool.
And
I don't mean to keep it. I don't want to interrupt anyone. So if you have, we're an hour into this, and I've been working all day. Joe's been working all day. Tyler's been working all day. Maybe one day we won't all have to work all day before training and then doing this. Hint, hint. But I think that is a great stopping point, and a great story, Joe. And I want to have you back eventually.
Sure.
But I want to get through some people and get some names crossed off my list, and then I definitely want to circle back to you maybe when you get your brown belt or your advanced brown belt, and bring you in and pump you back up.
I appreciate it, Dustin, and I'm happy to fill in to be your ringer for tonight.
Well, you're definitely you were never second on a tier. We wanted to ladies first. Basically, it was ladies first. We wanted to have your wife here, and we had all planned to have your wife here. She got sick, not the Rona, but she got sick, and we pulled you in. Pitch it. So
I'm always here to help in this dojo.
I know, Joe. I knew you'd say yes when I asked. So, thank you very much, folks, for listening. Tune in next week. We'll have somebody else to hear talking, and I hope you're going to enjoy it. Train hard.
Bye.
Good night.